Hey there friends, David Paulides, CanAm Missing Project, copyrighted edition for our video channel. This is Miss Hawk. She's the executive producer of our show, the head lady of the house, and a great little partner on the trail. Yes, you are. Yes, you're a good girl. Yes, you're a good girl. Yes, a good girl. Big yawn. Good girl. Somebody wrote in and told me that when dogs yawn like that, it means they're content. That's what somebody told me. I hope they're right. She just yawned again. I hope you're right. Make me feel good. So, a couple of things. If you guys know of a missing person case in your area that makes the 411 profile, please send it to me at missing411.com. I can't hear about them because a lot of these missing cases are only reported locally. And with, 5,000 newspapers across the United States, there's no way we could cover them all. So if you know of them, send them over. We'd like to hear about them. There's actually a lot of cases going on right now across the U.S. It's very sad, actually. Now, one of the things that rescuers use are drones. And they record that drone footage most times. Now, drones could be FLIR drones or regular drones. And many times they bring that footage back and they put it on a big screen and they go through it slowly. Well, somebody sent me in this and I was stunned. It says a hiker was missing for nearly a year and then AI system spotted his helmet. Using AI to analyze thousands of frames taken by a drone, a mountain rescue team has found the body of a doctor who had been missing since September 2024. How long does it take to identify the helmet of a hiker lost in a 183 hectare mountain area, analyzing 2,600 frames taken by a drone from 50 meters away? If done with a human eye, weeks or months. If analyzed by our AI system, one afternoon. This could mean a lot, folks. The National Alpine and Speleological Rescue Corps, known by its initial CNSAS, relied on AI to find the body of a person missing in Italy's Piedmont region on the north face of Monviso, the highest peak in the Cottian Alps since September 2024. According to a CNSAS drone pilot who intervened along with a colleague, including searching for any sign of the missing hiker, the discovery and recovery of his body and a stoppage due to bad weather lasted less than 3 days. All they searched was 3 days. Weather forced him out and that was it. The recovery operations. With his back to the ground, his gaze fixed on the mountains 600 meters below the summit, the body of 64-year-old Ligurian doctor Nicola Evaldo was found on the morning of Thursday, July 31st, more than 10 months after his disappearance, thanks to his helmet that clashed with the rest of the landscape. Let me say this again. The colors that you wear are important. The brighter the colors, the more of a chance that they're going to see you from the sky. And the colors that don't mesh with natural colors in the area are important. It was the AI software that identified some pixels of a different color in the images taken on Tuesday, explains Lasola. Reconstructing step by step the operation that led to the discovery and recovery of the remains located at an altitude of approximately 3,150 meters in the rightmost of the three ravines that cut through the north face of Monviso above a hanging glacier. Above a glacier. The team collected all the images in 5 hours and with just 2 drones on the morning of Tuesday, July 29th, and analyzed them using AI software during the afternoon of the same day. But that evening, rescuers already had a series of suspicious spots to check. Only fog and bad weather the following day delayed ops. We woke up at 4 a.m. to reach the very distant point with good visibility on the channel where the red pixels had been detected, and we used the drone to see if it was indeed the helmet. Then we look all the necessary photos and measurements, sending the information to the Rescue Coordination Center, which was then able to dispatch the fire brigade helicopter to the recovery and police operations. Every drone operation is part of a rigorous method developed by CNSAS in cooperation with ENAC, the national agency that oversees civil aviation. We've been using drones for about 5 years, and for a year and a half we've been integrating color and shape recognition technologies, developing them month by month. Shape recognition and color, the key points. But all this would be useless without the teams and the technicians. Information from Uvaldo's cell phone was immediately invaluable. The two drone pilots who navigated the area were aided by the experience and knowledge of our 4 expert mountaineers. It's a human achievement, but without technology, it would have been impossible. The CNSAS goal is to further collaborate between AI and drones to prevent the most serious consequences of mountain accidents and save missing people while they are still alive. There is the key, while they are still alive. Now, I know that there's a ton of search and rescue people that watch our show. I appreciate that. You ought to be jumping on that. Contact the Italy Aviation Center for their drones and get that technology on board right now in the US. It could be a huge lifesaver. So, thanks for sending me that article. The second little tidbit is the last time I put up a video regarding a lady that disappeared on a ship to Alaska. There was like 30 comments. I'm never going on a cruise ship. It's so dangerous. I'd never do that. I'm giggling to myself thinking, oh boy, what did I open up here? I'm going to address that. I am somebody who is very safe in my lifestyle. Will I go walk in the woods with grizzly bear? I will, but I'll take bear spray and a gun. But I'm not going to do anything stupid. I'm not going to walk through a downtown city like Baltimore around drug dealers and drug addicts that are laying all over the street. I'm not going to do it. It's dangerous. Even if I had a gun, it's too dangerous. The cruise industry is incredibly safe. 30 to 32 million people cruise annually. That's a lot, folks. Now, the number of people that go missing every year on a cruise ship, what do you think? 1,000, 2,000? No, 20. The average is 20 per year. Of those 20, 4 are rescued. So that means 16 of the people disappear. Now, if you use the 20 number, that means that one person goes missing for every 1.5 million cruisers. 1 for 1.5 million cruisers. Friends, come on. Now, you use the 16 number, those are the people who really go missing. And it's even more. It's 1.87 million cruisers. People, the comments were just too wacky. I mean, it's amazing that people make comments and they don't even know what they're talking about. Now, an average city of 1 million people, has at least 200 people missing. The crime rate on a cruise ship is incredibly low. Lower than most medium-sized cities, folks. I get frustrated with the comments from some. You really think I'm going to go on a cruise ship if it's dangerous? There's no way. And there's two different kinds of cruise ships, and I'm going to explain that more later. Now, what I'm going to talk to you about today is a man who disappeared on a cruise ship. But it's a bizarre story. It's a 411 story. It's not what you're thinking to be a story. The man's name was James Michael Grimes. This is James. 28 years old, missing November 23rd, 2022 at 11 p.m. He resided in Alabama. His family organized a cruise over Thanksgiving for the holiday. 18 members of James's family boarded a Carnival Cruise Line ship called the Valor on November 23rd in Louisiana. Now the ship, 290 meters long, 110,000 tons, occupancy of about 3,000 people, 1,100 employees, 1,492 cabins registered in Panama, entered service in 2004. Remember when I said this, and please pay close attention. There's two kinds of cruise ships. There's a party cruise ship, and there's a mundane cruise ship. Dave, the mundane cruise ship. Have I been on a party cruise ship? I have. And it was a Carnival Cruise Line, leaving from Long Beach, California when I lived in California. And it went down to Baja, California for 3 days. And really, everybody on that cruise ship just drinks and parties and never sleeps for 3 days. Not Dave. I went to sleep every night. But I think I was 35, 33. Would I ever do it again? Heck no. Now, James is going on the Valor, this cruise ship for Carnival Cruise. Now you can look up incidents on each cruise ship by Googling the name of the ship, asking Google for tell me incidents on the Valor between blah, 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 blah. And they'll spell it out. As an example, on the Valor, on December 3rd, 2022, yeah, that was 9 days after James disappeared, they had a medical evacuation of a passenger because of stroke symptoms. February 16th, 2022. They have a woman that jumped overboard after an argument. She leaped from her balcony, hit part of the superstructure of the ship below, fell into the water, and was never seen again. Huge search, gone. December 22nd, 2021, a medical evacuation of a passenger because of a stroke. October 8th, 2019, a passenger fell 15 feet from an inner balcony, had serious injuries, was medical evacuated by the Coast Guard. You're going to find that certain ships have a lot of these medical evacuations. Other ships have almost none. And it has to do with partying, intoxication, liquor. That's not to say that the cruise ships I go on don't have medical evacuations. 2 years ago, I was on a cruise ship to Alaska. A Bigfoot cruise ship. And we got notification that our crews had to turn around because there was a medical evacuation. It was a medical evacuation of one of the speakers, Jeff Meldrum. Dr. Jeff Meldrum had a medical emergency on the ship, and it had to be medically evac. And I guarantee it wasn't because of alcohol. It was just a bad medical condition. So it does happen. So those 3 to 5 day cruises, they're called booze cruises. And Carnival Cruise Line is a less expensive cruise line than most cruise lines. They're party boats headed to party destinations to party. Now, if you want to do that, more power to you. Go do it. Not me. I'm interested in going to destinations, seeing the sights, enjoying the sun. In Alaska, I went fishing for 2 days. But different strokes for different folks. Now, James and his family got on the ship in Louisiana on November 23rd. Not long after you get on the ship, things start to happen. And I don't mean bad things. I mean, the ship tries to keep you entertained, having fun. And if you're looking to do things on the ship, there's a lot to do. I don't engage in any of them. But like on James's ship, they had an air guitar contest. Air guitar means you pretend you're playing a guitar to music. 3 or 4 people are on stage, or however many they have, and they pick a winner. James won. So he was with his sister at the time, and what he won was a drink. I'm telling you, it's all about drinking on these booze cruises. So James is with his sister. He's not intoxicated, and he tells his sister that he's going to go use the bathroom. It's 11 o'clock the night they left the port. Well, his sister's waiting for him to come back from the bathroom. He doesn't come back. So his sister starts to think, maybe he went back to his room and he couldn't find me, or maybe he went on a different deck. She looked around a little bit and then just went back to her room and went to sleep. Now, at this time, the cruise ship was 20 miles out into the Gulf of California. Gulf of America now. James was interviewed later on by a news crew. And he says he doesn't have any memory from the time he left his sister to the time he woke up laying on his back in the ocean. He said he looks around and there's nothing in sight. No cruise ship, no other ships, just the ocean on a dark night. I ask you, what would you think if you woke up like that and you weren't intoxicated? I think you'd be freaking out. I would be. What the heck just happened? James said that in his life, he was never able to float in water. And he said, but I woke up on my back floating. And he was struggling to stay afloat, treading water. And he said from the very beginning, God saved him. Because he didn't have the ability to save himself. Wow. Well, James's sister goes back to her room, goes to sleep. And all during the night, while she's sleeping, James fighting for his life in the Gulf. An hour later, it's Thanksgiving Day, November 24th. At about 10 o'clock, James's sister starts looking for him. Checks all the decks, talks to people. and then reports James missing to the staff. They enter his room. Bed had not been slept in. So that's a key point to them. Well, if he hadn't slept in his bed, and he wasn't anywhere on these decks, really only one choice, right? He's overboard. Well, the ship starts to make a U-turn. And they start to retrace the route they took. In the meantime, they're immediately contacting the Coast Guard in Louisiana that they have a man overboard. Being in the Gulf of California is like being in any big body of water. It can get really rough. Can you imagine what goes through a person's mind when you're alone, probably facing imminent death, knowing there's things in the water that can kill you, and knowing you could barely tread water yourself? James said through the night he continued to tread water. At one point, there was just enough moonlight where he saw a fin coming towards him. He said, I didn't think it was a shark, but I felt something bump my legs. I don't want to tell James this, but I don't know of many fish that swim with their fin out of the water in the middle of the Gulf of California, other than a shark. So maybe God really was protecting him. He said the water was filled with jellyfish and he was getting cold. Reports at the time from the Coast Guard that the water temperature in the Gulf was 70 degrees. According to survival statistics, you can live 18 degrees in 70 degree water. But there's a lot of variables to that. Namely, your body fat composition, your athletic ability, and the clothing you're wearing. Now, why is that important, Dave? So the way a wetsuit works is it traps water between the neoprene of the wetsuit and your skin. Your body heats the water in that area and keeps you warm. Certain types of clothing will do the same thing to an extent. And that little bit can keep you warm and just enough to keep you alive a little longer. Well, James didn't say what kept his mind busy during these times, but he did say he had a will to survive. He didn't want to die. Now, back in the day when I was going through a lot of police officer training and advanced officer school and SWAT training, they instilled upon you having the will to survive if you're injured. You can't give up. If you think you're shot bad, get it out of your mind. Just say, hey, I'm going to survive. I'm going to live. And that will can mean everything. Even doctors talk to us about this. Well, during this time that the cruise ship was looking for him, the Coast Guard was looking for him. Now, this cruise ship was headed to Cozumel, Mexico. It makes a U-turn and is now coming back towards the port it came from. They're looking in the water. The Coast Guard dispatched a Jayhawk rescue copter with a swimmer in it. These helicopters have some of the best FLIR systems in the world. Now, when they look through that FLIR in the middle of the night, it's like looking at the water in the middle of the day. Except it's even better because James was alive. So his body head puts off heat. So when you're scanning the water with FLIR, that head sticks out around the water. Easier thing to see. So they're looking. Well, James says at about 7 o'clock, Thanksgiving night, he sees a tanker coming towards him. So he starts swimming towards it. Now, one report says that the tanker saw him and called the Coast Guard. Now, every ship in that shipping channel would have been notified by the Coast Guard that there's a missing person in the water, and they'd be asked to look for him. Standard protocol. Another report stated that the Jayhawk looking for him spotted him in the water. Not sure which is the truth. But at 8 p.m., the Jayhawk helicopter sees James in the water, and they lower a rescue swimmer in a basket. The swimmer's name was Richard Hoefel. And they lower him into the Gulf to get James. Richard had to essentially put James in the basket. He stayed in the water while the helicopter lifted James into the helicopter. Lowers the basket again, puts Richard in the basket, picks him up. Richard said James never said a word and could barely function. Richard was later interviewed. The rescue swimmer was interviewed. And he stated he thought, based on all of his expertise in rescuing people, James had maybe 90 seconds more to live in that water. He was totally spent. The entire ride in the helicopter, James never said anything. They said he was dehydrated and extremely hypothermic. The best guess, he was in that water between 20 and 22 hours. And survival statistics say you can only live 18 hours. Something saved his life. Richard, the survivor rescue swimmer, said James was that close to death. But he also said that James had shown an incredible will to live. Again, that will to live. Now, James was transported by the helicopter to a New Orleans hospital, and he recovered fully. He was later interviewed by a news channel, and he adamantly said that that night, when he was with his sister, he was not intoxicated. He doesn't remember telling his sister that he was going to the bathroom. He doesn't remember falling in the water. His first memory was waking up on his back. Here's a key point to you that I want you to think about. He said he woke up and there wasn't a ship in sight. Cruise ships are not fast. They're slow and methodical. He had to be unconscious or not there for at least an hour, because you'd be able to see that ship and all of its lights lit up at night. He had to have. Those ships are super high, super bright. Where was he? Was he in the water unconscious? I want you to think about this too. If I drop you in the water and you're a male and you're unconscious, vast majority of the time you're going to float face down, which means you're going to die because your face is in the water. And you're going to suck up water and drown. But James said he woke up face up in seas. How long was he there floating in the water? Who, what, where put him in that water? When the Coast Guard picked James up, he was naked. Fact. Where were his shoes? Where were his clothes? They said they thought that when they saw James, they thought he was waving a sock, but they weren't sure. It's kind of a map of the incident. So they left New Orleans. Their destination was Cozumel. Around 2:30, so the sister wakes up and realizes he's missing at 11. Around 2:30, the ship makes the U-turn. Seems like that's a little late to be making the turn, right? And then the Coast Guard at 8:25 rescues James 20 miles southwest of Louisiana, out in the Gulf. After they recovered James, the Coast Guard released the ship to go back to Cozumel, towards Cozumel. So a lot of things about this incident that point to something else happened. If we believe the fact that he wasn't intoxicated, then he had loss of memory and loss of time. And he was either the luckiest man on the planet to float in that water for an hour on your back, or did he immediately wake up when he was put in the water? I've never heard of a case like this. Now let's go back. The U.S. Navy has reported a multitude of times that they have seen UFOs come right out of the water. Navy submarines have reported things passing them at over 100 miles an hour in the water, underwater. So these things are out there, folks. It's not that they don't occur. You just don't hear about them. So that's my story for today. It's a weird one. James is alive, doing well. He said he'd go on a cruise ship again. Thanks to all of you for your comments that you post on the videos. Greatly appreciated. Remember, you can watch all of my documentaries for free on Tubi. Missing 411, Missing 411 The Hunted, Missing 411 The UFO Connection. They're all free on Tubi. Please go there and watch them. The more you watch them, the more it helps us. And you can watch a movie I made for the History Channel called Vanished. That's owned by the History Channel, and you have to watch it over on Amazon. I think you have to pay $1.99 to watch it. Most of it was filmed in different locations, including up on Mount Shasta, where a person disappeared. And my books are available on our website at NA, like North America, nabigfootsearch.com. Go to the online store, and you can find them there. You can also find them at most of your local libraries. And if your local library doesn't have them, ask them to carry it, and they'll get it. In the meantime, be happy, be polite, and be thankful for all of our servers, truck drivers, service workers that are out there. Be nice to them. Kindness is contagious. Thanks again. Hugs asleep. As normal. Paulides out.